Hey 1% Nation, I'm Jake Voorhees, and you are watching episode 39 of the 1% Engineer Show, where we empower young engineers to rise to the top 1% of their career. In this episode, we go live with AF Math and Engineering. That's Avi and Fred from their engineering channel, where they do homework problems, do civil engineering exam problems. And in this live show, we're going to talk about motivation for students, what got us over the humps when we needed it, who to hang out with in your engineering program, who to avoid, what our personal struggles were in engineering, what got us down, what was really hard for us, and how you can learn from these and how you can build off of our experiences when we were in school, why we chose civil engineering. So that's 3 opinions in this video about why civil engineering was meant for us, and if we believe an MBA or a master's program is great for engineering students. So let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's go back to the footage from our live stream with AF Math and Engineering.
All right, guys, we're live with our buddy Jake Voorhees. Jake, what's up? How's it going, man?
Hey, just hanging out. Thanks, Fred. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate going live with you guys.
Of course, man. Thanks for coming on the channel. Guys, if you don't know, I'm Fred. I'm the co-creator of AF Math and Engineering. And we cater to engineering students who are looking to get a little more help with the problem-solving aspect of engineering. And this is actually our first live stream, and we've decided to bring an awesome content creator onto the channel. So this is Jake Voorhees. He's creator of founder of the 1% Engineering Society. Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what your channel's about?
Yeah. Thanks, Fred. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys so much for having me on your channel and doing this collab live stream. I'm really glad we could do it. I guess we found each other because, just like you said, we're supporting young engineers everywhere. You guys are really providing awesome value to the technical area, showing the homework problems and sort of what it takes behind the scenes to be a successful engineer in college. And what I try to do is actually leave that to people like you and Abby who really like that type of stuff and are really good at it. And what I talk about is how to be successful beyond that, networking and professional development, and how to really be a successful student, how to study well, build relationships with your professors, and things like this. So the non-technical part of engineering.
I hear you. And I think a lot of people underestimate really how important that is, don't they? Because a lot of people think it's like, you got to be good at math. It's all technical. There's no feel, there's no communication or anything, but having those networking skills and like the videos you make, knowing what backpack to buy, knowing what laptop to use, the little tricks that help you get through engineering and really succeed are as important, if not more important, than just being good at math, I think. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And that's one thing I noticed. That's one of the reasons why I started the 1% Engineer Society a little less than a year ago, maybe 8-9 months ago, because so many students believe, especially in engineering, that 4.0, if they get that's going to be the path to success. And you guys know more than ever that's not actually it. You got to get good grades, but sometimes it can be everything else that makes you stand out, that leads to your success here.
I agree 100%. Yeah, like for example, a personal experience with me for that was in the second year, I decided just to spam all of my professors with emails to try and get a job, and no one else even tried, right? And I got the one professor who got back to me, and I offered to volunteer for him, and then that turned into a research position, and then he applied for a grant for me, which I won. So it's just that extra step, going that extra mile and learning those communication skills, I think. So I don't know, let's start with what school you went to and in what program, and I think you did your master's too, something like that, in civil engineering.
Yeah, I did a master's. Yeah, so I'm wearing my alma mater. People, when I was on the Canadian West Coast for the last 4 years, they didn't even know where Delaware was. So the flagship example is actually Joe Biden, the former vice president of the United States for 8 years. He went to UD. He's a Delaware senator, so that's kind of grounding there. It is a real place. And because this is an engineering audience, if you've ever heard of the company DuPont, they're in the Dow Jones. The DuPonts are from Delaware, so the chemical engineering program specifically at Delaware is one of the strongest in the nation. I did not do that. I'm civil engineering. just like you and Abby.
Yeah.
So hats off to all you civil engineers out there.
Yeah.
And just like you, my situation is nearly identical.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only had opportunities, regardless of the amount of resumes I sent out into the world, I've only had opportunities come to me because I already had a connection, a relationship with that person. And because it's your know, like, and trust, it's already approved there, they give you a shot, right? So that's kind of what has happened.
You know what I
to me.
mean? Yeah, it's getting your foot in the door and being able to network and being able to talk to people. I think that's like one skill that a lot of students in engineering, despite like them being, you know, top of the line students, they're the smartest, they get the best grades, but they're lacking that kind of they're lacking a little bit of the the courage, I guess, to get out, put themselves out there and really take a chance with their professors or whoever it may be. So cool, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't even think we mentioned yet what your YouTube channel is. So do you want to explain a little bit about that, and for people, I guess, who are going to be watching this later or who are tuned in right now?
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit earlier about how it's mostly catered, or it's all catered to really student engineers and young professionals. And the channel name is just my name. It's just Jake Voorhees.
Yeah. Maybe so people can go and check it out and give him a subscription. If you're watching this video, go check his stuff out. It's really useful. Even if you're not an engineer, you know, Jake's videos are amazing. They're really well produced. They look awesome, and they're just generally entertaining. So yeah, it's Jake Voorhees, right, on YouTube, or?
Yeah, Jake Voorhees. I'm sure you can put it in the description of the video at the end of this. But yeah, it's just Jake Voorhees. If you just do 1% engineer, you know, number one, like 1% in YouTube, I'll come up all over the place. So cool. That's a pretty good way.
Sweet, man.
But yeah, it's mostly about how to be successful in engineering programs as a student, and then as you enter that job world, you know, what to expect for those job interviews, how to get internships along the way.
Yep.
Maybe grad school is for you, maybe not.
Yep.
All these types of things that are, you know, I leave the technical stuff to channels like yours.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hear you. No, but you need both sides of it. Like I said before, right? You need both. Both are super important. So
for sure.
I guess let's talk about your video editing skills, because anyone who's seen your videos knows that, you know, your video editing skills are super crisp, and you know, that's really important. Like mine aren't. You know, I edit our videos, and I'll be honest, I'm an amateur, but I look at your stuff and it's really crisp. You have cool transitions. So where'd you learn how to do that? Did you learn on your own, or?
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate all the nice words and the compliments. So I guess this kind of backs up, in order to understand my channel and what's going on with it. Yeah. It kind of is really like a 10-year story, but it's gotten interesting in the last 3 or 4 years. So when I was at Delaware, 2007-ish, because I graduated in 2009, because I think we're the same age. I'm 30. I think you guys
30, as well. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So 10 years ago, exactly, I was doing camera research for a professor, just like what you said, had a relationship, got more involved, had that on my resume. And then graduating in 2009 at university was a terrible time for the job market. So did grad school at Wisconsin, which, you know, you guys mentioned that earlier. And then I got picked up by a Canadian engineering firm in Chicago. Really? So now you can connect these dots. I was really an extension of the Vancouver team, made it out to Vancouver, more camera research out there, and camera-based engineering. Yep. And as you know, Vancouver's Hollywood North. They support filming some drones. So it's a cool opportunity to launch like the drone bridge inspection program with the company in Vancouver.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and that kind of, it's super cool to be on the forefront of that. And that kind of led to other stuff on the side, you know, just do more. You never know where it's going to go. And me and another guy who was a creative filmmaker, sort of snowboarding guy, his name is Simon Dugood. Shout out to him. He was actually the video producer. He was the camera guy who taught me all this stuff. Oh, I did kind of the sales and the marketing. Yeah, I was like the people person, the face of the brand, the face of the business. And he actually did most of the video. So we were doing we shot 20 weddings last year. Wow. We did all types of engineering marketing for companies with motion graphics. And so that's where the video sort of expertise comes from. And now it's kind of repurposing it to a add value type situation to engineers.
Field, right? Yeah, absolutely. They're taking those skills and using it to produce something else of high quality. It's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of snowboarders out there in Vancouver, right? They're all down in Whistler, BC, up there north. Yeah, let's go, man. Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you guys? I'm really curious about because I know you're an unconventional student, and you said you had a culinary avenue for a while, and then you decided you wanted to follow that passion of engineering. But what made you guys want to make videos and sort of build the brand? And I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, it's actually a cool story. Thanks for asking, man. My story is a little bit interesting actually, because so I went back to school for engineering. So which, by the way, was like the hardest thing I've ever done, for sure. It was almost impossible. I almost dropped out. That's also another funny story. But so essentially, I was right out of high school. I was thinking either civil engineering or becoming a chef, And I had this idea in my mind when I was a kid, and it was kind of like, I don't want to be in the office my whole life. I want to get out there and I want to do some honest kind of hard work, right? And that was a very honorable kind of idea, and I liked it at the start, but. So I went to culinary school. I went to culinary school at George Brown College in Toronto, and after that, I kind of started working. I worked in some top restaurants in Toronto, and I lived in Japan for 2 years, and I worked there. And eventually, I kind of got a little bit bored, to be honest. I wanted to do something a little more kind of intellectually stimulating. So I had really good marks from high school, and I planned to go to school for civil engineering. So I reapplied at Ryerson University in Toronto, and I was accepted. And I didn't take any math refresher courses or anything. I was like 27, and I just went right into it. I'm like, how hard can it be, right? And the first semester just destroyed me, man. Like it was terrible. Like the chemistry, calculus 1, physics 1. I was just so overwhelmed. I had to relearn all my high school content in 4 months from 6 courses, and I almost gave up. But you know what? And I remember in one of your YouTube comments, you said, "What are the kind of best attributes for a young engineer?" And I think perseverance, because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to power through it. And ever since the first semester, I've been on the dean's list. I've gotten close to a 4 GPA, not to brag, but just to show you that like you can go past that level. If you think you're failing or you're not doing so good, you just have to analyze what you're doing wrong, put in the hard work, and kind of persevere and do your best, right? And that's, I think, also an important skill that you getting a 30% on a midterm and coming back and getting an A in the course. That kind of, that happens all the time in engineering, but it's like that perseverance that really that's just so important. So that's my story. I don't know. It's it's an interesting.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. It's not conventional, but I'm 30 now. I'm in my 4th year. I'm just finishing up, and I guess the point of our channel is to, as we go along through university, we pick up on what's missing on YouTube, what's missing on the web, what we found that's missing is kind of that problem-solving approach. There's a lot of theory on websites like Khan Academy, which are great, but there's not so many just strict problem-solving engineering channels, so that's kind of the market that we wanted to fill. So that's kind of a little bit about me and our YouTube channel, and we just want to make something that people can use and that'll help them, and that will help them get better grades, and hopefully through problem solving we'll give them a better understanding. So that's
totally. I love that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And Fred, just to back up really quickly, we talked about perseverance and how you had like the worst initial semester of your life. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Taking such a gap. Within that, maybe for 1% Nation and for AF Math and Engineering community, within that perseverance, what was maybe one tactic or one little thing that you did it mentally, or something that kept you focused, that you sought for inspiration, or what is maybe take us back through that? Like, what actually made you, not quit? Because a lot of people would quit, right?
Oh yeah,
Like, what was it that?
That's a good, that's a really important point. And maybe it's a little pessimistic of me to take this approach when I talk about this, but I'm of the opinion that like, just straight motivation or just loving or liking something isn't enough, because I find that motivation to be fleeting sometimes. For example, like, if you don't feel like doing it, then you won't do it, And I guess from cooking for a long time, I picked up the skill of just doing something even though I didn't like it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's, and that's not what a lot of people want to hear sometimes, I think, but I think that's a really important skill to have, is being able to force yourself to get through a difficult situation or to do something that you don't necessarily want to do or that makes you uncomfortable. So in my case, I was really down. I failed a couple midterms. My fundamentals I forgot from high school, and I was just working. I was at the library 6 hours a day after class trying to get those fundamentals back, right? And and I just ground through it, And it's a funny story. I went to the office, and I was like, "That's it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore." Right? And I spoke to the woman at the office. I'm like, "Give me the form to drop out or something." And she gave it to me, and she's like, she goes, "Just take one more day." She's like, "Take one more day. Just think about it." Or something. I'm like, okay. And I did. I took one more day, and I talked to my wife and my friends, and they're like, yeah, just don't worry about it. You'll do fine. And I was like, okay. So maybe that too, speaking to your friends and getting some advice, and, because sometimes in those situations you don't think rationally, right? And you're just so overwhelmed and emotional. And, it's common with engineers, I think, right? So so anyway, after that, totally. I got through it. I made a little bit of a comeback in the semester. Next semester, I got A's and B's, and then third semester, fourth semester, I was getting all A's and A pluses, and then from there I just, so it's possible, guys. If you're having trouble in engineering in the first semester and you're overwhelmed, just stick through it. Remember that in the end, you're going to be an engineer, you're going to graduate, and you're going to have a great career, and you're going to help people. So, actually, how did you find engineering? And let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard was it for you? Did you go to school straight from high school, or?
Yeah. So, great question. So, I came from a really small public high school in Maryland. Yeah. I'm from the smallest county in Maryland, and we only have like 18 or 19,000 people, only one public high school. And no disrespect to my home area, but I went to University of Delaware, which is like top, lots of private Catholic high schools in Delaware. All those kids coming to UD, and they were ready. I was not ready. So, I got... My first semester, even without 8-9 years of delay, I took chemistry, physics. I had to retake Calc 2 sophomore year, third semester. I got destroyed, and your story is reminiscent of mine, where you kind of go through that struggle right off on the front end, right? Yeah. And then it's like, okay, you figure out what you have to do to get over that hurdle, and then once you kind of get in that groove, same story. I'm getting A's and B's, Dean's List, junior, senior year.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, engineering was really hard for me. My skills are My skills are interpersonally. Yep. I like math. I'm good enough at math. Did I get a 5 on AP calculus in high school? No, you know what I mean. So I wasn't the best, but it was good enough. Kind of having my DNA. My dad's a carpenter, so it's kind of like it's that fusion. I'm left-brained enough and quantitative enough, but definitely if it wasn't for like my project teams and my homework teams and studying with people, putting myself with the superstar academic kids, and then me presenting for them and during group take, I wouldn't have made it. So
I hear you, man. Hey, it's all about surrounding yourself with it's surrounding yourself with good people, and you have a lot of videos on your channel about that too. Choosing the right people to study with, choosing the right friends, making sure that you're not choosing people who are purposely trying to leech off you or bring you down. And there are some people like that. Just being smart about it, and kind of I guess selecting people around you that complement your weaknesses and can teach you some things, right? And that's you need a little humility to do that, I think. But
totally. It reminds me of the video that you guys put out about like the students not to hang out with in engineering.
You like that one? I don't know. Funny. Yeah, we just thought that would be a funny video, and we threw it up there, and got a few views on there. So that was a pretty good one, I think. But that's really cool, man, for sure. Let's see what other. I wrote down some questions here. I want to see.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
The flagship, and while we're going through history and everything else, the flagship that I love to ask people during interviews is, what was it that, like, how did you know? Because you mentioned even before you chose culinary, you were at this fork in the road. Yeah. But if you can go back, 10, 12, whatever, 15 years, or maybe even when you decided to go back to school 4 or 5 years ago, like, how did you know civil was the right one? Like, what made you choose civil engineering?
Good point. I actually kind of I kind of had a general idea of what civil was, but it was more of a guess than anything. Kind of, I just like sounded cool to me, and I knew it had something to do with, like, I think this is what a lot of people think, like bridges, or like building bridges. I think that's what people think when they think of civil engineering. And I kind of thought that too when I was like young in high school, and I was like, oh, bridges are cool. And as a kid, I was always kind of sketching shapes and triangles and trusses and bridges and stuff, like houses and buildings. I was into that. I don't know. It's just something that I was kind of interested in. And and it seemed like, you know, being an engineer is kind of cool too, and that kind of stuff. So that was
Totally.
kind of, just the general stuff, you know. I don't know about in the States, but here in Canada in high school, I mean, they don't really prepare you for what your career is going to. This is a little bit of a complaint, but what your career is actually going to be like. You know what I mean? So you go, you know, you're expected to choose this engineering profession, or, you know, you're going into journalism or something, but they don't really give you any kind of foresight into what it would actually be like to be an engineer, or to be a, you know what I mean, a journalist, or to be, and that's, I don't know, is American high school kind of like that as well?
Yeah, so just in terms of high school, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, not necessarily preparing high school students to, I guess.
Yeah.
Go into the real world and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're expected to choose what you think you want to be for the rest of your life when you're 16, 17, 18, right?
Yeah.
And first of all, and then it's like, well, so if you are going to choose civil engineering, or if you are going to choose some humanities degree or whatever, like, do you actually even know what that job is going to be like if you make it through? Like, no way. Yeah, that's a huge thing. That's part of the reason why a lot of engineering channels exist. They're just explaining, like, okay, if you do biomedical engineering, like, what does that even mean? What can I do?
You know what I mean?
So yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like, you know, and that's so important, right? Because that's going to be something presumably you're going to be doing for a good portion of your life, assuming you don't change careers, which a lot of people do. But and we should talk about that next, actually, maybe going off in another path from engineering and using your engineering degree. We'll get to that next. But yeah, I mean, you know what? Another, I guess, complaint, not to take it in a negative direction, but I think a lot of the general idea for a lot of young kids these days is kind of like, you should only do what you love. You know what I mean? Like, only what you love. Mm-hmm. And I think you really need to consider, personally for me, like the practical kind of side of things with your career choice as well. Like, you know, are there enough jobs? And I've seen some engineered truth videos too on which engineering majors you should go into because there's more job prospects. But I think high school students would be really well suited to take a look at the job market when they select their engineering major, or any job, or any university degree in general. Really make sure you're going to be able to get a job after, because it is really important. You know, almost as important as doing what you love, I think. So.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you mentioned Engineered Truth. I'm actually a writer for Matt's blog, Engineered Truth. And he is a big inspiration of mine because I'm pretty sure he's the biggest career channel on YouTube, and he also was an electrical engineer himself before he took the entrepreneurship road. So that fusion of engineering, you know, a root of engineering with career. Yeah. So he's like the top, you know, person for me to, you know, to be a mentor for me, and for me to aspire to be like. So
right on.
That's really good. And just to continue in this direction, what you brought up, what he does oftentimes, he looks at the U.S. Census, or I guess it's like a jobs report.
I've seen that video. That's what I was referring to. Well, where he'll look at the number of actual jobs, and that's if more kids did that, I swear, like, you know, I mean, we may have less engineers, you know, whatever, maybe biomedical. Maybe there's less jobs in biomedical. That's all. You know, it's not that biomedical's any worse than, for example, something like civil, where there's tons. Civil's a bigger field, right? I think that's really important, man. I love that video too. Mm-hmm. Did you write that one, or?
No, I haven't done any video stuff for him yet. Yeah. I have just been doing a few blog articles that just started doing it this summer.
Cool. Yeah.
So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll repurpose, and this is, you know, I'll encourage you guys to grab one of my favorite books.
Yeah, let's see it.
Which is this thing right here. Do you know this? I lost you, audio.
Yeah.
But
you know what? One sec, man.
So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll repurpose a video. Sorry, I lost your...
Okay. Yeah, give me one sec, Jake.
I'll repurpose the video.
I gotta check the connection. One sec, buddy.
Just back to that, just talking about how I'll take a video and, you know, type up the script, transcribe it, and then shift it a little bit so it's not identical.
Yep.
And then just repurpose it as a blog post. And this is what big brands do. You know, they start with a video, they take the audio, that's the podcast. They take the text, that's a blog post. They take the blog post, they chop it up into 5 bits. Those are 5 Instagram posts, so you can be smart about it.
Cool, man. Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, that's because I think probably anyone who's gone to school for engineering knows about his channel, right? He's a big deal, so that's right. And it's good stuff. Like, if you guys, anyone who's watching or who's watching the replay here, if you haven't seen or gone checked out Engineering Truth as well, check it out because it's a really cool channel. Tons of very practical information for people considering engineering. So.
Yeah, Matt's a cool guy, and I think he's also quite a big success story in the young engineering community because what he did was he was building his channel while he was in school. And I remember a video where he was mic'd up kind of like a Secret Service guy to kind of walk his audience through his approach to a job interview. And at the time, he had 53,000 YouTube subscribers, and he was talking about how he grew an Instagram. He was already doing digital marketing on the side for brands. And he only worked for, I think, his electrical engineering company for like 1 year. And kind of took the plunge. And now he's a real estate investor in the Philippines. I think he is Filipino. And he really is doing what a lot of people would dream to do. He's a content producer. He's an entrepreneur. So
awesome. That's great, man. Let's I guess that's a good segue into what we were talking about before, which is a very popular thing that a lot of people who get engineering degrees do. And I think the most popular education combination for a CEO is an engineering degree with an MBA. What do you think about that? Is that would you consider that to be a valuable career choice to go and get your MBA and go into maybe business side of things rather than sticking with engineering? Or?
Right. Great question. So I when I did my master's program, it was, master's science technical program and thesis track data, working in Solace and just nose to the ground. And even in that first year alone, I realized that if this wasn't 2009 and I had an opportunity to redo this, I probably would have waited 4 or 5 years, not done the technical stuff and done MBA because you kind of have those two paths, right? And I'm sure you see it in academics. It's like you can either be a technical expert, be a workhorse, and just keep going, and you're like a data scientist, and you just really want to be a pro at whatever. Keep niching down. It's like the T, right?
Exactly.
Keep being an expert in one avenue, or you can go in a managerial track. You can try to be an executive. You can be a team project manager, team leader.
Exactly.
And for those people, MBA is the way to go, especially if you want a corporate future. Now, if you want to start your own engineering business, you'll learn a lot. I don't think you need an MBA for that. So that's like a different conversation. But if you're a person who is like a people person, engineer, a leader, just like you guys, you can get on camera and you can do both. You're technically smart and you have the communication, you have the interpersonal skills. MBA fits
It fits that kind of blueprint, people, doesn't it? Right? Yeah. That's actually what I'm considering doing as well. But it's tough. It's a tough decision, because I think doing a master's is kind of fun, isn't it? I mean, you get to, I don't know which kind of master's you did, but you get to do your own research, you get to publish a paper, a lot of freedom there. You probably make a little bit of money while you do your master's. On the other hand, I think a lot of people who just have an undergraduate sometimes have trouble getting a job depending on the connections that they know and the people that they know. So I mean, as you said, there's definitely benefits to doing both for a postgraduate, right? Either doing your master's or doing your MBA, but no, it's definitely a good question. I think that people who do an engineering degree need to ask themselves is, personally for me, I have a friend and he did his undergraduate in mechanical engineering, and he did really, really well. He went to one of the best schools in Canada, Waterloo, University of Waterloo. So
of course, really the best, right? Especially for engineering.
Or second best, U of T, then probably Waterloo. They're always kind of competing for their top positions. Yeah, but no, Waterloo is an amazing school. They have an amazing co-op program that isn't just 1 year. It's like 3 months at a time. So you'll go first year, 3 months of co-op, 4 months of co-op, come back to school, do another 4 months of co-op. Really great school, prepares you well. And he got a job at a really great company called Pratt & Whitney. It's like it's an engine company, right, in Canada. And and he kind of got stuck in this position. He only had his undergraduate. He was in the same position, I'd say, for 5, 6, 7 years. And decided to go back for his MBA now. And now he's, I think that's what can happen sometimes if you only have your undergraduate, is you can kind of get stuck in the technical role, like you mentioned, and you're not able to break through to that kind of managerial role. Would you agree, I guess, or?
Yeah, 100%. And the biggest thing that comes to mind right now is I interviewed an engineer. His name is Pat Sweet. He runs engineering and leadership.com, also Canadian. He lives in Halifax right now. He went to, it's right on the tip of my tongue, Dalhousie.
Yeah, right.
University,
Halifax,
right? And his story is kind of similar to your friend's, where he was working in a field and had a technical role, but was kind of on the managerial path. And then he applied and started his MBA program. And in the middle of the MBA program, he was promoted within the company just because they knew like the ambition about doing yourself and your own career, right? And they kind of gave him, they knew that he's going to have his degree in a year, under a year, and he was promoted internally while he was still doing it.
They wanted to give him a little bit of incentive to stay, I'm assuming. They wanted to keep him on board, right? And I heard a lot of companies will pay for your MBA. Is that part of that?
Yeah. I think there's definitely a lot of companies out there who either pay for master's or MBA. Probably more so MBA because it makes them look really good, and if you've built up that relationship and they know what you can do for the company, you're probably going to stay. It's usually some sort of contractual obligation to stay for either like 2 or 4 years if they pay for it. Once you succeed. But those opportunities definitely exist. I know that they're in high demand. They may not always be easy to find, but they exist for sure.
Cool, man. Yeah, right on. Let's see if we can find something else to talk about here.
I'm curious if people in your school, whether they be professors or if you guys have done career fairs or any networking events or anything like this, if they have found out about AF math and engineering, what the root of this question is, like, has this project of yours presented talking points, or have you met people through the community, or have opportunities come to you because you're doing this project on the side instead of just watching TV, right? Yeah,
that's a good question, man. That's really interesting, and I think we've had a couple interactions with students from our school, students from we have a lot of viewers from India, from Pakistan, a couple countries in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. So we do get some messages, personal messages, emails and stuff, but it really feels good when we get a message from someone from our school. So occasionally we will get a message from someone, and guys, hey, if you're watching this video, either the rerun or now, feel free to email us or message us with any questions, comment down below, any questions that you may have. We love interacting with our viewers and getting back to you. So, but we got a message actually the other day from a student who goes to Ryerson University, and she just she liked the content and she wanted to see some more general civil engineering videos, rather, because I do structural engineering, so I focus on the structural analysis stuff. But she wanted to see more maybe wastewater management or environmental engineering stuff, and that's great, and that really inspires us to keep going and to just keep making videos, man, because that's really awesome that people are actually, from our school are watching it and are engaging with us and letting us know, that they like our content, man. It's a cool feeling, isn't it? I don't know. Do you get video, like comments and messages as well? I'm assuming you do, but.
Yeah, that's definitely. I'll take it to a quote of Gary Vee. I don't know if you guys know about Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure you do, but he talks about how the comments and the encouragement and the feedback is his oxygen, right? Yeah. So it keeps the fire going, because at the end of the day, people who do what we're doing, they take it to YouTube. They're putting out content, putting out value to a specific niche audience. Yep. What they're really trying to do is have a positive impact in these people's lives. We're trying to help engineering students everywhere, right? That's it. So it feels so good for the audience, the few of you guys who do it, 1% Nation and AF Nation, if you will, the few of you who actually take the time to send a message. It means that we have helped you so much, and we have built this relationship with you so much. So thank you, right? And it feels good all the time. There's been so many times where something bad will happen, or you're not feeling 100% that day, and then I'll get a comment, I'll get an email, and it's like, okay, make that video, right? So
right? Yeah, for sure, man. And like I'll wake up in the morning. I don't know if you do this. I think honestly, like, being a YouTuber is kind of an addiction in a sense, because like I'll wake up in the morning, and the first thing I'll do, I'll go to my creator thing, and I'll be like, oh man, how many subscribers did I get when I'm sleeping? You know what I mean? Or like, how many views am I at or something? You know what I mean? I'll do that. I'll admit it. I'll be honest. So hey guys,
I'm the same way, man.
You do the same thing? So guys,
dude, right away.
Comment on our videos. It makes us really happy. So please continue doing that. But, honestly, man, like that's that really just getting a cool comment, or getting a bunch of likes on a video, or or something like that inspires me to make 3 videos that night or something, just because,
For sure.
you know, and on the reverse, I mean, if you get some dislikes on a video, I start thinking like, oh man, like something wrong there? Did I do something, or you know what I mean? So
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
for sure, man. So I have a question actually. I guess it doesn't apply as much to your videos because, well, you're better at editing than me, but do you ever find yourself kind of, while you're filming your videos, do you ever make mistakes and you have to kind of, you know, go back and edit them, or do you have to make a comment down below correcting something? I don't know. Has that ever happened to you, or do you film a video and you're like, oh, that was no good, I got to redo it, or, you know?
This is actually a great question. So when I started making these just this year, I really started filming for this channel in January, right?
Yeah.
I used to think that, you know, no script was required. I would just kind of shoot from the hip. And then people were like, you know, we can tell you're not using a script. You need to look at the camera more and focus. Yeah. So over time, I've gotten more serious about the planning. And that's a really good question. So I have 2 responses to this. Yeah. So if I'm filming and I'm making mistakes, or if I misspeak, I will do 20 takes if I have to. And sometimes that is required. You want to get an entire paragraph out or something.
Yep.
But I also accidentally allow mistakes to make it to the final cut and get uploaded to YouTube and things like that. For example, my latest one, I freaking spelled analytical with 2 I's, no Y. Analytical.
Someone commented in your video, remember that?
Yeah.
He's like, hey buddy, you spelled it analytical wrong or something.
And I'm like, engineering. I can't spell. I almost have like a numeric photographic memory in some instances. I can't spell it all, dude. Okay. So like, I look at that and I laugh.
That's we're math guys. That's okay.
Yeah. But would I ever break my content calendar and take that down and re-upload? No. I want that mistake to live. It's kind of like you have a lot of native tribes, how they want to almost put an imperfection in because want to like see the progress over time. So it's kind of like whatever.
That's really that's a good analogy too, I think. But I've that's probably one thing that I've kind of I guess I've been getting better at it, I would say personally, but I struggled with at the start because when you're solving problems, you can't really write a script necessarily, and you'll get to parts in problem, like you can do the problem, right? Like if the problem comes on the exam, you have no problem, but to explain it and to not say or every 2 seconds, or to pause or every 10 seconds, you know what I mean, and think. You have to be very smooth, very fluid, right? And it applies to any video that you're doing, right? But it's tough. It's tough, man. And editing helps, but you know, that's, I think, if anyone's gonna, you know, thinking about making YouTube videos or anything, that's something that you got to learn, I think, is you know.
And I think this is really a testament to, and I've talked about this before, a testament to the challenge and the level of knowledge that is required for you to teach something. Because for you to teach something to someone else, you really need to know it in and out. You almost need to have teaching on the front burner and doing the problem on the back burner, right? So you have to be so good. And this is another positive thing about studying in groups or doing homework assignments in groups, because you're always going to have one person who gets the problem first. And if you're that person, even if you're helping someone else, you're helping yourself by trying to explain it in a way that it makes sense to you. It has to make really, really good sense to this person in order for them to understand it. So,
oh man, you nailed it, I think, because it's you really need to focus on like the trick in the question, be able to like convey the information in a way that's not long-winded or that people don't get bored with, like being able to directly, and I'm not saying that I'm like a pro editor or anything, but this is kind of like my goal when I try and, you know, make a video, and I'm sure you as well. It's exactly the same thing, even though one's technical and one's more like tip-based. The it's exactly the same thing. What's up? Hold on, we got a guest. What's going on here? I got distracted. Who's here? Oh, it's the A in AF Math and Engineering, guys.
I never knew what the AF was. That makes sense. Okay.
I'm the F and that's the A. Hold on.
So wait, we need to sit like right to left, you know, like the.
Sorry guys, Avi's a little sick today.
Yeah,
that's why.
I wasn't sure if I'll join, but I feel a little better, so.
Want to introduce
the conversation?
Want to introduce yourself, Avi, or?
Avi from AF Math and Engineering. I just spammed all over Facebook in the last 20 minutes, so you probably saw me around.
Cool.
Do we have a picture here? Can you see if I'm in?
No, we can't see.
So Jake, you need to guide us. Am I in the picture? Do you see like my left side?
Can you see Avi, Jake?
Let's see. I have the stream turned off, so it's not distracting.
Yeah, I
tell you
turned it
guys
off as well. Yeah.
because it's delayed. It's like 20 seconds delayed.
We have a bit of a
So
delay
Alright,
right
so
now.
I'm still not there. I'm still a mystery in those 20 seconds.
let me go to the channel. But I'm sure you guys.
No, you just see my hand. I told you.
Hey, it's my buddy Grems and Josh. What's up, guys? How's it going in chat?
Oh, you're not even in there at all. Yeah.
No one could see him. Oh, that's anticlimactic. That is very. There
it's
we
like-
go.
Yeah, you guys will have to
Show-
shift over.
It's like in these shows where somebody's telling like a story, you know.
There you go.
Let's not take it there.
Anyway, so introduce yourself, Avi.
So, I'm Avi. Nice to meet you guys. Happy that you're joining us. I've been listening to the conversation. It's been really interesting, actually. Some great points, you guys.
Cool.
So I had to join.
Yeah, he had to pull up a chair and join us. So
Yeah.
What were we talking about? We were just talking about doing videos. So anyway, Avi does a lot of the behind-the-scenes thing on our channel. And, he does the advertising. He does a lot of the tagging. He organizes the videos. He does our Facebook group, some advertising. And he's starting to film a bunch of videos now as well.
Yeah.
And
Joining the group.
joining the group. So right on, eh? That's
So
cool.
tell me, Jay, can you see me now? Do you see me on the camera? Yeah, that's it. I'm good.
So where are you
Yeah.
from, Avi? You gotta hear it.
You read the
Here, yeah, check it out.
iPad. What question you still didn't talk
Oh,
about?
yeah. Avi's got...
Really?
Avi
I
writes
got a
some good
list
questions for you.
of questions for you, Jake. I watched maybe 40 hours of your videos here.
No way. Thank
And
you.
I'm curious to know, when are you going to Colombia finally? Is it going to happen?
Great question. I guess you're watching those vlogs. Well, I'll give a shout out to Jesse Dow, he's the Columbia guy. Yeah, I mean, I told Fred the story of how all these videos happened, and in Vancouver we had built a relationship with a startup, like an accelerator, and he was one of the students, and so we had this Kickstarter deal with them to do $1,000 videos, and we got connected, and he was gonna bring me to Colombia and just pay for the airfare and everything, and I was just gonna like be his video guy for free.
Yeah.
But he pivoted the company, and instead of doing a coffee product, he's doing like a coffee face scrub. And I'm still working on the promo video for him, but the Colombia trip is delayed. Hopefully we can one day. I don't know, have you been to South America?
Yeah, I actually been to Colombia. But when I was looking at the vlogs, you don't see if you like been there or haven't been there. You're like, I'm going to Colombia. Still looking about Colombia. Is it going to happen? What's going to happen? So, well,
Yeah.
hope you'll get there. And tell me, I had another question. So you left Vancouver for Maryland, right?
Mm-hmm. Return home, yeah.
How is it possible? How do you
Honestly,
explain that? Like, and you show like videos of like Canada and Waterloo and lakes and buildings and Maryland. Come on, man. Come on.
He's biased. It's
Come
Canadian.
Oh no, it's
the whole
that's what
event.
everyone said when I came back. They said you left Vancouver to come back here, because people, we know of Vancouver all the way out here because of the Winter Olympics, because of the beautiful city, and Toronto is a beautiful city as well. But really, my time there had come to an end. I hit the 5-year anniversary with that company, and this is actually a somber note. I lost 3 family members last year, so that kind of like hit the brakes on that. I turned 30 this year, so it was kind of all these things together. So as I was telling Fred earlier, I never planned on moving away. I took an opportunity because of the housing crisis had crumbled when I was graduating, and it kind of like was this chain reaction that led me to Canada and Chicago, Canada, and everything.
Yeah.
So
Oh, you went to Chicago too. That's cool. I've never
Yeah.
You gotta go to Chicago.
Yeah, we need to go to Chicago.
It's
we
like
need to do like,
2 hours from us.
a vlog from somewhere. Tell me, how is life in Maryland? Is it
it's
like-
cool. So yeah, it's great. I grew up here, first of all, so it wasn't like just some random opportunity I took. I'm now like 45 minutes from my family, and I returned to the city where I went to college, or I went to University of Delaware. So again, I had the relationships, just like Fred and I were talking about. I didn't even have to apply to jobs. I just like reached out to my network. So I love it here. I mean, it's the East Coast. It's like the colonial. It's where the states get really small, and a lot of Canadians are like, yeah, we don't know.
Tiny and stuff down. Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever been to Toronto?
I have only been to Toronto for like one day when I was 13, but never really spent a good amount of time there. I know it's great. People speak so highly of it in Vancouver.
It's all right.
It's a good city.
It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right. It's pretty good. I guess. Here's a good one. Here's a good one.
Oh yeah.
Where I found it. Hold on.
Okay.
Look at that one.
You want me to ask it?
Well, you wrote it.
You want
so
me
you
to ask it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've noticed you're extremely engaging with viewers and people who comment on your channel. Would you consider this a must for channels looking to grow?
Yeah, great question. I personally would consider that a must. Whatever your platform is that you're trying to build out, if you're a blog writer, you should comment on you should respond to every blog comment. If you're very serious about your Instagram or your YouTube, what you're doing is you're inviting more comments. It's like you're showing that viewer that you will take the time to actually build a little bit of a relationship if they take the time to comment on your videos.
Yeah.
So you're encouraging, it's like a multi-level thing. You're building a relationship with a fan who may share your video, who may tell a friend about your videos, who may come back.
They'll come back, they'll watch more. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. And then the other thing, as you guys know, but the YouTube algorithm, they look at the amount of comments on your videos, right? So if you can somehow encourage another comment or like a whole conversation to occur on your video, it helps your rank. So you're not only building a relationship with this fan, but you're literally helping the SEO of your own video. So
yeah, no, it's and that's important to know. I think we noticed that a little bit too.
Yeah.
Our most popular videos are videos with the most comments and the most engagements, the most likes, that kind of stuff. So that's all obviously all factored into to that pesky algorithm that no one really knows.
Listen, Jake, I have to show you my picture of the boat. I can't seem to stop looking at this picture.
And then I think, what do you guys think? 5 more minutes, and then that's an hour, and we could probably
whatever you guys want to do.
Probably wrap it
Check
up.
out my picture.
Okay, I need to turn the stream back on.
Oh, you got to turn the screen.
You need to.
Abby loves his boat pictures.
You have to see it. I love boats in
Is
general.
that the same boat?
No, his boat is.
What boat is his?
So this is the Pride of Baltimore. It's a Maryland thing.
Do you know that boat, Abby? Yeah. You do.
Oh, this looks great. What is that boat?
Yeah, it's a Victorian ship.
Okay. Yeah.
1600.
I like the sun and the shading there.
Yeah, it's amazing. So when I was looking at your video, I was like, wow, what a cool picture. That picture is amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
So
there you go.
What else
I love
do
it.
we have there?
We don't have much more, man. I think we covered everything. Do you have anything else, Jake, that you wanted to chat about, or?
What might be fun is for me to run through my lightning round with you guys really quick, which is the fast, quick questions after I do interviews. I do it at the end. Okay. Like for example, I think we really touched on one of the keys to success. I usually ask people like, what's your number one personal habit for success? You talked a lot about perseverance and just making yourself stick to it.
Exactly.
But other favorite questions are like, if you guys could recommend one book to young engineers, what would that be and why? Yeah.
One book.
One book.
Yeah, and you can each give one if you want.
Can it be in engineering, like structural analysis or something? Or?
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah.
Well, mine is Simon Singh, The Big Bang.
Okay.
Have you read it? Book.
Have you read it?
No, I know. The author rings a bell. I don't know if I know it.
Crazy motorcycle.
That's a loud motorcycle.
Yeah.
Super loud. It's okay.
So that's like an amazing book. I bought it to Fred for his Christmas
I read it.
gift.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Maybe.
How about? Go ahead. Yeah.
Maybe mine would be The Art of War.
Okay.
You read The Art of War?
So?
Yeah, so that's cool.
Maybe. Maybe that's going to teach you. You know what I mean? Maybe you can apply that to engineering. No.
Yeah, I think so. So what about this one? If you guys could talk really quickly about a mistake you've made in your student road, like last 4 or 5 years,
that's a great
so that the viewers can learn from that mistake and maybe prevent it, what would it be? What would your example be?
I actually heard that you were talking about the calculus in first year. Yeah, that's kind of big. That's kind of a big mistake.
Yeah.
You know, that you just think, yeah, I'll be good, but let me think about mine.
Maybe
real
moment
quick.
of inertia in strengths 2.
The
Remember
moment
that?
of inertia.
Remember
It
with the
might
bending
be.
moment diagram?
Oh,
With Anwar?
I remember that.
That's got to be it because you were so upset.
We had like a midterm that we only got 2 questions, okay? And each question was
Hardest
50%.
course. Hardest course in
Yeah, like strength 1 or 2.
Strengths 2.
And if you like miss one of the steps, that's it. You got 0 for everything, you know?
Yeah, it's a
Jeez.
0. It just
And-
gives you a 0.
And you write everything perfectly, and later you like get the midterm back, and it's like X, X, X. And you're like, oh my god, I'm going to be a carpenter for the rest of my life.
So you
you
said-
know?
what was it?
So
It was-
it was like just at the beginning. I got the bending moment diagram, shear diagram, everything like going, and then I did the moment of inertia.
So you needed to get the maximum moment from the bending moment diagram, and you needed to find the moment of inertia of a shape,
Yeah.
and then use the moment to find the flexural stresses.
And it's like really simple. It's like grade 12 math,
Yeah.
basically. It's just a bit of numbers and a bit of calculating. So I did it, and I checked it, and I checked it again, and then I did the complete answer, and I like left the exam like, yeah, I got this, and everything. And I meet him, and he's like, what's your number? 21,000. And I'm like, I got 19. And the other guy, what's your number? 2,100. They're like, oh my god, that's it, it's over.
That's classic. That's a
It's
classic.
Yeah.
over. And
That's a classic.
and like I didn't forgive myself, you know, like after that, each exam or midterm, I checked myself and I invested in those small numbers and small calculations.
Yeah.
It's just something that you never forget. You know, it's like a mistake
Yeah.
that you shouldn't have made and you never forget it. So
That's a good one.
yeah, that was mine.
I,
That was
I'm
a hard
sure.
one.
I'm sure everyone who's done engineering has had those moments where they, there's
Yeah.
like that long question, and you make a mistake at the start, you do everything perfect, and they give you a 0 or something. And you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Jake.
Oh, yeah.
does. See?
There's
that
no
laughs
way.
like a, yeah.
No
I've
way
done
I'm
that.
going
Oh, yeah.
to finish the course, but you end up passing in the
Yeah,
end.
I mean, all my mistakes that I've made have like worked themselves out somehow. You know what I mean? So I've made a bunch of like really bad mistakes, especially on midterms. For example, last semester we did structural steel design. Yeah, yeah. And chair of the department is the professor, and I made a really stupid mistake. It was another one of those very long questions, and I made a mistake at the start, and I got like a 40% on the midterm, and so just that one mistake at the start, he just gave me a 0 for everything, and but I ended up getting an A in that course. I got 100 on the
Nice.
final. That's all. So
Right.
if you keep the bell curve will always save you in engineering.
Yeah,
right? That's-
probably. So what's yours?
Yeah, what's yours, Jake? Let's hear yours.
Biggest mistake. Well, I guess if we're talking about student stuff and things like that, it would be, just assume I have a tendency to be a procrastinator and put off the things I don't want to do. And because I wasn't the best technically, wasn't the best exam taker, wasn't the best homework taker, I would always be like, oh, well, it's just going to work itself out. It'll be fine. And, you see 3, 4, 5 a.m. nights or consecutive all-nighters during your senior design. So if I, maybe not just one exact moment mistake, but more of like a thematic mistake, it would have been to start things earlier, take things a little bit more seriously, like start that project earlier, start studying a week ahead of time. Don't just assume, because I failed tests, I got destroyed by midterms,
does, right? Yeah, everyone does.
and it's like, if you prioritized, if you just made sure, you went more prepared, right? Always more than be like, well, I'll go out with my friends and we'll study more tomorrow. Like, no.
don't go out. Yeah, don't hang out with anyone. No more friends for the next 4 years. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Okay.
You can have friends. But no, I think he really touched on something though that we got to reiterate is like when you get that, for example, your weekly assignment from physics or something, start it that night or the next day. Just finish it, and then it's out of the way for 6 days. And it feels so good when you get into that. It's hard to get into that kind of that rhythm, but once you do,
Plus, you usually make a mistake the first time
you
do it.
you got to redo
You know,
the
like
assignment.
a day
or something.
later, you like find it again, and then you really remember it. You
check
know,
with
it
your
really,
friends, right? Yeah,
It
yeah.
really stays
Yeah.
with you. You like write it again and again and again.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
So,
That's right. Be proactive. Don't be reactive. I love it.
Yeah, there you go. Good. Any more?
Next one. That's it. That's your golden question.
So if you want to do one more, because
Yeah.
I have my top 5 lightning round questions. Here's another one I'd like. If there is one piece of advice that you guys have received that stood out in your mind from a wise mentor or a grandfather or something, so what's the biggest piece of advice, the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The biggest one.
Yeah, just like if you could reiterate something that stands out in your mind, maybe something you read, or it could be anything. But if you could give this to maybe a freshman engineer who's about to start their first semester this fall, right? So what's something that you would say?
I'm gonna steal. I'll go first. So this isn't personally like my most profound piece of advice, because I'd probably have to think a little bit more about that. But the most interesting, actually, this is the one quote, and my very good friend Jason. I'm sure he'll maybe watch this later, but he was a chemical engineer at U of T, did his master's. He went to Harvard actually for his MBA. He got accepted to Harvard, finished that. He's doing great. He's working at Boston Consulting Group. Really, really just top guy, great guy. And I asked him, I talked to him about going back to school for university, and he told me engineering is an endless chain of disappointments. That's what he told me. And it really does put it into perspective when you just keep failing midterms, and you keep or not failing necessarily, but you get a 50 in a midterm that you studied a week for, and the average is 50 or 40 or something, and that keeps happening over and over again. Is you keep getting disappointed, don't you?
Yeah.
You keep getting disappointed in engineering, and the ability to like overcome that disappointment and work hard and get yourself out of that hole is, I think, the most important skill that young people can learn in engineering. If you can take that out of engineering and apply it to your everyday life, man, you're gonna do well in everything. I think that's mine.
Probably.
Is that
That's a fantastic one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
right?
Let's see mine. Like, one good advice, always give the same thing that you expect to receive. Okay? From people,
Wise.
from teachers, from life, from relationships, from everything.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's it.
Nice.
No, I really like that. And I think the one thing I would add to that is if you give first and you don't have that expectation of receiving,
Yeah.
usually people can sense how genuine you are.
Yeah.
And for example, for students, like if you're always spending time after class with a professor, you're going to office hours, and you don't necessarily expect that they're going to help you with that grade at the end. They usually will help you with that grade at the end because they know that you're investing the time in the relationship with them, and it's gonna prevail, or it's gonna pay off on the back end. So
100%. Yeah, people can definitely detect your, whether or not you're genuine when you're giving back and you're helping people. And if you watch our video on who to avoid in engineering, right? Good video.
great video.
Yeah,
It made me laugh.
But thanks, man. But yeah, there's certain people that are gonna try and ask you for something a day before the test, and with it because they didn't want to study, or they're gonna ask you for your notes a day or the solutions for your assignments when they didn't want to do it. So avoid being one of those people, I guess, is the rule.
That's the best way.
Don't
to
be
put
that
it.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch the
there you
video.
go.
All right, man. I think that's it. Yeah, that's about an hour.
Yeah, this was great.
That's our first stream, actually.
Yeah, it was
so
great.
I know we had some technical issues at the start. I apologize, Jake. I hope the video's
It's all
looking
good.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
I learned a lot from you. I picked up a lot of really cool tips, and I think everyone who's watching this can learn a lot from Jake's channel. So 1% Engineer, Jake Voorhees on
Fantastic.
YouTube, right?
Fantastic channel.
Yeah, fantastic channel, amazing editing, great advice, guys. Go subscribe to him, and keep on learning from this guy. 'Cause he's a good guy, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on your channel. I really appreciate it. It's been cool watching your stuff, and I got you on the featured list. I think the technical support, the homework support, actually walking through the problems, like that void exists, and you guys are filling it. You're adding that value to the world. So thank you to your investment into student engineers everywhere.
Cheers, man. Thank you so much. Hopefully we could do this on your channel too at some point,
Yeah,
man.
For sure, we should. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll chat about that. And everyone who watched or is watching the replay on either our channel or Jake's, thanks for watching, guys. And
Thank you. That's it.
That's it.
Thanks,
Like-
guys. Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
See you later.
Cheers, buddy.
Hey, 1% Nation. I hope you enjoyed that live broadcast replay with AF Math and Engineering. If you did, comment below and let us know what you agreed or disagreed with in this video. And if you enjoyed this replay, consider subscribing because I release videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays for young engineering students so you can crush it in your career and become a 1% engineer. Thanks for watching the 1% Engineer Show, guys, and stay hungry on your quest to become a 1% engineer. Cheers!